From naps to playtime, feedings, and more. Take a look at my 4-month-old's daily schedule, as well as typical milestones and challenges you can expect at this age, and tips to help you make it through them. Join me for a day in the life with our 4-month-old. This is Nelson. Nelson is a 4-month-old baby born on November 10th, 2022. That means on this given day, he is 4 months and 11 days old. Nelson falls in the 99th percentile at 28 inches long. Nelson again falls in the 99th percentile at a whopping 20 pounds. So while you may feel like you're hanging out with an 8-month-old today, Nelson is just our one-of-a-kind, hunky, chunky, smiley 4-month-old. Let's get started. At 7:30 every morning, it's time to wake up Nelson. Nelson is on an eat-wake-sleep cycle, which means I wake to feed him at predetermined feeding times every day. We've done this routine with all 4 of our babies, and because of that consistency, Nelson has been sleeping through the night for over a month now. If you're still waking up with your 4-month-old at night, take a look at our sleep training video, which I've linked below for you. After he wakes up, we chat for a little bit while changing his bum and getting him dressed for the day, and then when he's wide awake, I give him a nice full feeding to start the day. On average, a 4-month-old baby will have 5 or 6 feedings with 4 to 6 ounces in each feeding throughout the day. But as you might have noticed, Nelson is a big boy, and Nelson has 5 bottles per day and takes 8 ounces at a time for a whopping 40 ounces per day. After Nelson has finished his first feeding, he then plays for the remainder of his wake time before going down for a nap. One thing that I have learned as a mom of 4 is that babies are really simple and really do not need a lot. We've simplified our baby toys dramatically over the years, and now at this baby stage, they mostly consist of toys that promote brain development made by Lovevery and a few other favorites, all of which I will link for you below as well. We try to make sure to get in lots of tummy time, which isn't hard now that Nelson is rolling. I also make sure I have at least a couple of minutes where I just talk with Nelson, respond to his coos, and sing songs and connect together. This is a great time for us to do some intentional work on helping him to reach some developmental milestones. Some of the typical milestones you might notice your baby develop around 4 months old are holding their head steady without support, begin rolling from back to front, bringing things to their mouth, including hands and toys, recognizing familiar faces and voices, recognizing familiar objects like toys or a bottle, begins to chuckle, make sounds back at you when you talk to him, may begin solids, and smiles more spontaneously. If you're looking for some activities to help your baby reach these developmental milestones, be sure to check out our Developmental Milestone series, which I've linked for you below as well. Now, after all of this play, Nelson is getting tired. The average 4-month-old's wake window is between 90 and 120 minutes long. Nelson's wake window is right in the middle there at about 1 hour and 45 minutes, and before you know it, it's 9:15 and it's his nap time. The average 4-month-old baby will have 3 to 5 naps per day for a total of 3.5 to 4.5 hours of daytime sleep, so they can get a solid 10 to 12 hours of sleep each night. Right now, Nelson gets slightly more day sleep than that with 3 hour and 45 minute long naps for a total of 5 hours and 15 minutes of day sleep, and then about 11 hours at night. But don't be surprised if your baby begins struggling more than he has in the past with sleep. This age is notorious for the 4-month-old sleep regression. You might notice your baby being fussier than usual, more clingy and sensitive, or even more difficult to feed. This is all very typical for a 4-month-old, and like all regressions, this too shall pass. Be sure to stick around because here in just a bit, we'll share some tips and tricks to help you get through these common 4-month-old challenges. An hour and 45 minutes goes by, and now it's 11 a.m. and the cycle continues. It's time to wake up Nelson for his second feeding of the day. Nelson is formula fed, and after Nelson finishes his bottle, he has his next wake or play period for the day. Today he had some time in our door bouncer while I was cleaning out the preschool cupboard right next to him. I think it's important to note that many occupational therapists do not recommend any sort of baby equipment. This is because when a baby is in equipment, such as a bouncer or a bumbo, their weight is supported on their hips and their lower back, affecting the development of their spine and hip joints. In addition, these devices are more restrictive and do not allow for natural movements, as opposed to when they're lying flat on their back or on their stomach, they're able to move freely and strengthen their muscles. That being said, I know all of this information, and personally Personally, I am okay with some light use of baby equipment in our home. Being intentional about getting lots and lots of good tummy time and a variety of other experiences. He's decreasing the amount of pressure on the back of his head. He's working on hand-eye coordination, grabbing at the toys in front of him, and he's getting a bit of relief from his reflux. So all that to say is that every baby really is unique and every family is unique. And I'd just like to encourage you to be informed and intentional about your decisions you make for your baby and your family. And as long as you're doing that, you are doing the right thing. Well, yet another hour and 45 minutes have passed, and now it is Nelson's nap time once again. Nelson recently started rolling over in the past few weeks, so we transitioned him to Sleeping Baby's Zippity Zip Transition Swaddle, which we've also used with all 4 of our babies for good reason. They're fit to your baby, so they provide slight resistance and soothe your baby's startle reflex, helping your baby to self-soothe to sleep while also not limiting your baby's range of motion, and it acts as a wearable blanket as well. Another sleeping product we just can't say enough good things about is our Hatch Rest sound machine. It provides a variety of white noise options, and when your baby gets a little bit older, you can set programs on your phone to teach your toddler when it's time to sleep versus when it's time to wake up. Well, I know I'm not the only one who thinks nap time goes by way too fast, but it's 2:30 p.m. and it's time to wake up Nelson for his next feeding. I will admit that I often let Nelson sleep until 3 because that's when all of the other kids get up from their nap, so it's really hard for me to give up that 30 minutes of quiet time for myself. Nelson has his 3rd feeding of the day, and then recently we started lightly introducing him to whole foods, including apples, avocados, and bananas. We will be officially starting baby-led weaning with Nelson once he meets more of the developmental milestones a little bit more strongly, which include sitting upright unsupported, more developed head control, the ability to reach, grab food, and easily bring it to their mouth, and a natural interest in other foods. For now, we're just exposing him to a few of the tastes and textures, but in case you are wondering, he thinks the taste of apples is hilarious.
You want to try some more apple?
Mama,
You just want to laugh. There's your apple, big boy.
This afternoon during his wake time, we decided to get everyone out of the house and go on a family walk. So it's important for us to be mindful about getting him out into the fresh air and be able to experience all of the sights and sounds of the outdoors. All right, now that we've talked about some of the milestones, challenges, and even some of our favorite products for your 4-month-old, now here are a few tips and strategies to help you navigate this tricky time for you and your baby. Number 1, if you haven't already, establish an eat, wake, sleep cycle for your baby. Again, I will link our how-to guide on that below, but I promise you it's been the best investment we have ever made for our children and honestly for ourselves. Number 2, have a sleep routine for your baby for both naps and nighttime. And it doesn't have to be long. A swaddle, a little snuggle, dark room, sound machine, a little stroke of the eyebrows, that can totally be enough. But consistency is key. That's how your baby gets the cues. Number 3, lots and lots of tummy time. The more time you can give baby on his back and on his tummy, the better. This provides them with the most amount of opportunity to freely move, to learn how their body moves in space, and to get those muscles stronger. Number 4, respond to your baby's cues. Your baby wants to engage with you and will start seeking your attention and feedback with their own voice. By responding to your baby, you are giving him the positive feedback that his brain needs to strengthen not only his understanding of language, but also his bond with you as well. And number 5, provide a variety of experiences. Your baby is now totally out of the newborn stage and really wants to experience the world. So whether it's something different to look at, to touch, or to hear, your 4-month-old is eager to experience it all. When we get home, it's time for Nelson's last nap of the day, which has been getting shorter and shorter lately. And that tells me he's about ready to adjust his daytime sleep since he's not quite needing as much as we're offering him. I usually spend the next hour and a half while Nelson's napping, getting dinner ready before it's, you guessed it, time to feed him again. Now, this last wake period for our 4-month-old is right in the middle of our nighttime routine for our family, where we do bath, lotion and jammies just before bed, and had just a little bit more tummy time before it was time for stories. Normally, we read Nelson books with his older siblings before bed, but today happened to be one of those wonky days for our family, and all three of our big kids went to bed much earlier than normal. So instead, Nelson got to enjoy some one-on-one book time during a little bit of sitting practice. Nighttime routine goes quick in our house, so in what feels like no time at all, it was time to wrap Nelson up in his zippity and give him his last bottle of the night before he falls fast asleep. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you enjoyed spending the day with our chunky 4-month-old Nelsie boy, be sure to hit the like button and consider subscribing for more content like this. Don't forget that we do have a guide available for you to download for your 4-month-old down below. And if you have any questions about your 4-month-old's routine, drop them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Bye!